Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Pathways to Excellence, the show where we showcase talent in all its dimensions right here. And today we have with us extremely distinguished Herman Leong, who is currently an undergraduate at Harvard University. How's it going, Herman? I see that you're in the mountains right now.
Not exactly, but yeah.
I mean,
But
you know, we all know that Harvard is high up right there. I didn't imagine that it was in the mountains right there. And how are you doing today, apart from being in the mountains?
yeah, it's a great start to the new semester. I guess everything has been great. But except that the heat waves are I don't know. I don't know what to describe about the heat waves. It just feels like Malaysia. It's giving Malaysia. Yeah.
As in like heat wave, as in like you're experiencing a heat wave right now?
Now, as in physical heat, like the climates.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like in Malaysia,
It's really
or
hot right here.
right here in Harvard?
In the United States, yeah.
In the
Harvard,
United
Boston, sorry.
Wow, like what's the temperature right now?
Well, I guess it can hit something like 90 degrees
90 degrees.
Fahrenheit.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. That's like
I
and
was
in
starting to
Celsius,
use
that's like
Fahrenheit.
you changed so much, Herman. And that's weird because like it's like around September right now, if I'm not wrong. So like that is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So like is that the reason that you have the mountain profile picture? Moment you look at like essentially the mountain background, that you start thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm in cooler time right here.
Yeah. I hope it cools me down. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Herman here is a person of many diverse interests. So then we are going to have a very interesting little discussion right here that is going to range from, I guess, like even perhaps early beginnings up until the interesting pathway that he's taken through Harvard all this while right here. Let me start with a random fact then. Herman here is the founding president of the College Yayasan UEM Strings Orchestra. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, that's true. I'm glad that you brought it up because literally no one cared.
You are.
Yeah. I was in a string orchestra and a Chinese orchestra in my secondary school, and it's just that I am not used to not
having an orchestra.
Yeah, not actively participate in the orchestra team.
Wow.
And
okay.
it's something that I would really want to do. So like I shared this idea with my friend, who later became my partner in establishing this team. We started everything from scratch. We even had some debates and arguments with the school authorities. Yeah, specifically when you consider the fact that it is a 2-year college, which probably decrease the chance of their willingness. No, sorry, yeah, decrease their willingness to invest in such a large expenditure. In my year, they did buy the stat instruments. But in the second year, I mean, I did include it in my proposal, and the next batch pushed for it, and I think they got the permission. So like,
I see. Okay.
I mean, at least the school said they will do it, and yeah, let's see. Fingers crossed.
Cool. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So that right there, I'm sure has created many awesome memories. I mean, like I know that Melvin was in the orchestra as well, and then like also like some other people as well that I know along the way, like Seating, for example, who is essentially one of your juniors.
Yeah.
Let's dial back a little bit earlier right here. So then basically, so you're part of the Chung Ling multiverse, and basically like you had instruments back then as well. I say Chung Ling multiverse, by the way, to all our viewers out there, because like essentially some of the best, science, technology, engineering, and math schools in the entirety of Malaysia can be found in Penang. So you have Chung Ling Private, you have Chung Ling National, and you have Chung Ling Butterworth. And Herman here hails from essentially Chung Ling Butterworth. I've learned this well because I've been corrected the hard way. I received instruction, and now I have become aware of the particular universe to which you belong.
By who?
By who? Oh,
yeah, correct. By who?
By Ian Lim who basically is currently at Yale and who told me, hey, what's up? Like there's actually multiple Chung Ling. So now I know about the Chung Ling multiverse. I even know about the 五爱五中灵. 五爱五中灵. Nice. Thing right there. That
yes. It's all good. Yeah, it's all good. You knew too much. Not too much.
Some people often say that. Anyway,
we do have a lot of instruments in Chung Ling, by the way. It's actually quite interesting to think about the fact that the high school has way more instruments than my university right now.
Your university right now, like Harvard doesn't have instruments.
Harvard just has a bunch of pianos.
Okay.
And that's it. Yeah, I mean, I guess they store some percussion somewhere. Somewhere secluded. Somewhere I don't know. But
$50 billion endowment. What are you doing?
There's a music center in here in Harvard that stores a lot of music rooms, each of which contains a piano. But back in my high school, right, we had a lot of instruments that really usable for students. Like students can use if you're a member of the club.
Would you, I guess, like share how you, Herman Leong, kind of evolved from that sort of like beginning? Would you share, I guess, like the evolution really of your journey basically to, I guess, like becoming the Herman Leong of 2023, studying integrative biology right there, as opposed to, like something else? Like why this and why not something else?
Okay, so basically why IB? Why integrative biology?
Well, I guess like actually, more holistically, like I guess like to the best extent that you remember it, like the formation of your identity up to the present day. Because I know that you're down like with like psychology and stuff of that nature, right? So, but yeah, like formation of your identity up to the present day.
I think before entering college, I already know that I like biology as a whole, and I mean I enjoy biology from my primary school. Like really? When studying science, like so when you study science, they put everything together, right? Biology, chemistry, physics, everything.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I enjoy the biology part tremendously, I guess.
I see.
And
was there a special reason?
And a special reason. Well, I guess it's just that I'm curious about life, I guess. Yeah, which I think can be linked to psychology at some point.
Okay.
But yeah, just life in a general sense.
Interesting.
Yeah. And in secondary school, I was like, we get to learn more about biology in a different way, as in like the subjects all separate from each other, right? Like you have biology, chemistry, physics, then all separated in 3 subjects. And I think that is when I realized I wasn't actually enjoying biology as a whole. Like there's some part of biology that I didn't quite enjoy studying. For example, trees. Like
you just don't like trees.
No.
What?
Trees is not my thing.
You produce plants, oxygen. You disgusting.
No. So it's when I started to realize that I'm not a big fan of memorizing names of bones, muscles, tissues. That's just not my thing.
Okay.
And I think up to the college life, the last year, right, my first year, I took LS50 and integrated biology, and that's when I realized that what I truly like about biology is the chemistry part of it. So how chemistry works in biology, how a bunch of lifeless molecules, when put together, can generate life forms. Something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that is, I guess that is that's what amazed me in biology as that context. Yeah.
I see. Interesting. So how chemicals essentially interact to create life and various other things of that nature. Do you, I guess, abide by the belief? I'm just curious, because this is an idea that I heard before. Do you believe that our thoughts essentially can be pinned down to the particular chemicals that are swimming around in our brains at any given point in time, or that like there's a direct correspondence between like a combination of chemicals and essentially the superstructure of thought that essentially is on top of that.
Right. So, well, currently, of course, we don't have the scientific evidence for that. But if you ask me these questions, right, it reduces to something like philosophical or psychological, rather than scientific. It actually depends on what you think about the inherent quality, inherent nature of humanity, I guess.
The
Like the
interior
inherent
nature of humanity.
Are we inherently meaningful?
Okay, interesting.
That's
Cool,
a
cool, cool,
question,
cool.
I guess.
Wow, that is very deep right there. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Well, okay. So just kind of like moving towards your journey to Harvard then. So I recall that as you went from Penang, eventually went on to, well, KY, where you were under a JPA scholarship, right? So then I guess then at some later point, then so you applied to Harvard and then you received, I guess, funding from Harvard to continue your studies. But at the same time, you were also under JPA. So currently you're not under JPA funding, right? You're under Harvard funding?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Specifically, it's called Harvard Financial Aid.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was under JPA scholarship, which is a national sponsorship. So you can think of it like as like a government, like the government's literally sponsors you to study, and it was a pretty like it restricts down to, I guess, students that only scored 9 A+, I think. 9 A+,
Or
if they
SDN,
didn't
yeah.
change anything. Yeah. And yeah, it's pretty strict. And I'm grateful for getting it. I was under the scholarship when I studied A-levels, and after that, I switched to Harvard Financial Aid. That transition is an unexpected one, actually. So I went to Harvard with JPA, and I could have just, go to Harvard with JPA. The key difference is that JPA scholarship comes with 8 years of work. Like you study for 4 years, and you have to work for them for 8 years. Well, I guess that's a lot for a lot of students, and I mean it depends on how you think about it. And also, JPA scholarship has a pretty, well, I guess, strict requirements about the course choice. I think I told you about it, but my application to Harvard was initially rejected by JPA scholarship. Like the JPA's sponsorship wouldn't allow me to
apply to Harvard.
Yeah, because I did not apply here as a biology major. I applied to here as a molecular and cellular biology major, which yeah, the difference between which is I would say minute to an unprofessional to a non-professional. But they be like, no, you have to follow it word by word, letter by letter, no excuse. So like I ended up having to email them and I explained the difference between them, and talking through like how molecular and cellular biology is indeed a branch of biology and things like that. And then, well, and only then, they gave me the green light.
So was this like before you applied, or was this like after you received the offer and then you were essentially telling them before you applied in the very first place? Oh, I see. Okay. Huh. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I see. Wow. So that is kind of interesting right there. Not something that I knew before. I guess like they gave you, I guess like a pretty substantial offer right there. But I guess like what were you thinking at the time as you were trying to pursue that pathway of essentially going for essentially the Harvard financial aid? Because like was it an easy decision for you, or was it like like a difficult one?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Slowly I was afraid because you have to renew your financial aid every year, and I wouldn't be able to afford it. To be honest, like I'm here just because Harvard gives me money.
Yeah.
Like
Because like it's like
I
at
wouldn't
least
even remote, like not
70,000 US
remote,
dollars per year, right? If I'm not wrong.
yeah, like not even remotely. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
huge.
Mm.
Yeah, going to Harvard with GPA probably be the easiest choice. Like you don't
Mm.
have to worry about a lot of things because GPA
Mm.
will pay for everything.
Yeah.
And the only thing is just that you have to go back and look for them. That's it. End
Mm.
of story. Easy life. But that's not how I envision my future. Um, I want to essentially have a greater freedom in terms of course choice. That's the point of US education, right? I want to truly feel that freedom. Like I want to be able to switch courses, like if I
I
find the need.
see. So it's like
Yeah,
if something limits your freedom, then it cannot be considered true freedom in the first place. And if it cannot be considered true freedom, then maybe it was
yeah,
not worth it. I
right.
see.
And
Interesting. Mm.
yeah, and also freedom in terms of finance. Because well, I said so because Harvard gives me, like I mean the money that Harvard gives me is
Mm.
substantially higher than JPA,
I see.
than what JPA is. Yeah, and I'm not about JPA, by the way. I mean, I am truly grateful for what JPA has
Mm.
endowed upon me. Sorry,
Mm.
has bestowed upon me. Yeah, but um, yeah. Let's just say that it's a better choice.
I see.
Although harder, although riskier, but it will be a choice that I would be happier to make.
I see.
Like,
Okay. I see. I see. Just out of curiosity, then, um, in the course of your future plans, is a scenario whereby you eventually come back to Malaysia, like in the horizon, or are you thinking to maybe like at some point stay in the States?
right. Um, um, this is a question that I face a lot. I don't have a concrete plan yet.
Mm.
Well, even if I had, it wouldn't be. I wouldn't be able to guarantee that I will fulfill my plan. Right? No one knows the future. But let's
Mm.
just say that I would be happy to contribute to my country in my future. Um, and yeah, I mean, probably before that, I can work here for like several years, and
Mm.
going back, you know,
Mm.
and to contribute, to the whole society, to the society, to the environment, um, as a whole, like from different perspectives.
Mm.
And I think this question is asked to many people that study abroad. It is driven by the fact that many intelligent students are leaving the country and
Yep.
all. They don't see a future in the country.
Mm.
And so people who care, they'll be like, yeah, you're going to go study abroad, right? Are you going to come home? Are you going
Mm.
to come back to serve the country?
Yeah, and like sometimes like people will
And
even
that
guilt trip
question,
you on that. I've seen that
no,
actually in the
that,
newspaper.
yeah, that question, it infers a lot about people's expectation.
Mm.
People's expectation about, the country's students um, who study abroad.
Yep.
And I'm not sure about if it is, fair to put this kind of stresses on the students, like the
Absolutely.
students who study abroad.
Mm. I
Yeah,
mean, on the part of like, let's say a scholar, I mean, I was a JPA scholar before. I mean, I made a conscious choice to
yeah,
eventually come back, which is like a slightly different thing right there with a different arrangement. But I'll talk about it more on this channel later on. But I often see on social media, like a lot of like people basically talk about how, oh, this person got into Harvard, like newspaper article, basically like, oh, 6 Malaysian students got into Harvard. Then like you'll see like comment A, B, C. Oh, I hope that they will contribute to this country. Oh, go off there and obtain education so that you can contribute to this country. But the thing that people don't realize is that like when you get into a university, it's not just because like, oh, like a government happened to like invest in you all the way and fund every single part of your education, which might be true, right? But whether a
yeah.
government
In
funds
my
you or
case,
not,
yeah,
right, it was true, like in your case, right? Of course, like that later changed, but the point remains that the very fact of a person becoming qualified or essentially demonstrating the depth of thought, right, that they need in order to get into a top university in the first place, right, is by an act of individual volition, like freedom and essentially the exercise of their talents over the course of many different
yeah,
years right there. And in many cases, like I think that if people do come back and they do choose to contribute, it's a blessing, but it's not something that we can necessarily like guilt trip people into, contrary to what a lot of people out there seem to think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, and yeah, the good trips might actually, like lead to like lead to a negative sentiment, in general.
Right.
Yeah.
But that being said, though, I'd like to move into, I guess, like some of the more fun parts, essentially, of your experience so far with like exploring different perspectives. So
Right.
yeah, speaking of perspectives, so recently you, I guess, like ushered Fahmi Reza into the halls of Harvard right there, where he proceeded
Yeah.
to give like a talk.
He actually had an event in MIT when he came to Boston. So like he actually just, basically it's just like, oh, I mean, I'm here in Boston, so why not I just, do a like trip around along the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So like Harvard is one of them. And basically they asked us, do you want to host me? Yeah, and of course I'm happy to do so. So I was like, yeah.
One of the things that might be difficult for you if you had gone under the JPA scholarship, by the way. Can you just
Oh my
imagine,
god,
like,
yeah.
so yeah, I mean, like, okay, so tell me more about that. So, like,
Yeah,
how?
yeah. Um, yeah. So like we hosted him. He came in, he gave a talk. Basically talks about his journey using art as a weapon. That's literally his slogan. Art as a weapon. Um, using caricatures, posters, what else? Like social media,
Mm,
videos,
mm,
to like convey um his ideas. Like
mm,
he basically um is pushing for like an increased awareness, like political awareness
mm,
among the students, which you can see in his a lot of his endeavors, which he's doing right now. The university talks, I mean he's doing a lot of university stuff right now, like a lot of local universities in Malaysia. So yeah,
mm,
and the talk we had, I guess we had like around 20, slightly more than 20 people. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, considering the small number of Malaysians in Boston, that's actually a pretty great show up. Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty
Yeah. And
interesting.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
interesting. Okay, interesting. Art as a weapon, that's an interesting perspective for sure. Okay, cool. What are some of the things that you like particularly have enjoyed or involved yourself in like throughout the course of your time at Harvard so far?
It's that the freedom that I get to enjoy here, that I can, try out a lot of different courses. So last semester I tried economics and I figured out it's not my thing,
Uh,
sadly. Um,
was that
things happen.
the Econ
Things
50
happen.
with Raj Chetty?
Yeah,
Ah,
exactly.
I see.
I mean, no. Yeah, the professor was great. It was great. He received a lot of compliments. It's just it's not my thing.
Not your thing. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just not into economics.
I see.
And last year I still got to try chemistry, and I figured I want to do more chemistry, actually, more
Mm,
chemistry. Yeah. So which leads to my decision to take another chemistry course this year. I mean this
mhm.
semester. It did change my perception of studying the law. Yeah, I would say my way of studying right now, my studying approach right now, is vastly different from what I used to do,
Sure.
in years ago. Yeah.
Sure. I guess would you share a little bit about how that process has changed over time?
Oh,
Mm,
the study approach. Okay, yeah. So years ago, right, like during secondary school, things are very competitive, right? And
are they
everyone
not
would just be
now?
like, I mean, yes, but no, the the key difference is that everyone, I mean, your classmates now are your friends, they're your
Mm,
collaborators, they're not your enemies.
mm,
But back then in secondary school, I used to study alone a lot, like by myself. Yeah, just myself. But here at Harvard, I I find I can seek academic help from my peers and from the teacher, the professors. Back in my secondary school, there's really not a lot of chance that you can get to approach a teacher to ask questions because no, they're just busy. Like they finish the class, they just leave.
Wow, that is interesting right here. But yeah, I mean, like collaboration definitely is a thing that is important, like not even just in the university environment, but also like, you know, in broader like life at large. I think, I mean, like if you think about it, like yeah, like maybe there's like a sort of like misalignment right there. I mean, like education is technically for the purpose of like training people to enter into society, but then like somehow or another, like, you know, at an earlier age, then people just end up being siloed and told essentially that they need to become the best competitors. Like, would you share a little bit more about like the kinds of collaborations that you undertake, like at Harvard, and how I guess like they were maybe different from also, well, what you experienced back then?
Right. Um. So like back then, right? Collaboration is just simple. It is you collaborate when your teachers ask you to. When your teachers ask you to form groups, you know, and you sit together
It sounds
and
like
you
a project.
collaborate. You collaborate because you're forced.
I see. Mm.
Yeah. And I think in university, sorry, like in my university, I get to, I mean, like we are actually encouraged to form peace groups and you know, and I sort of feel comfortable collaborating about this. As in,
Mm.
like I feel less intimidated when I ask this to people because
Mm.
like people can fix me without looking down on me. Yeah, that's a sentiment.
I
So
see.
like collaboration is, well, I guess it's yeah. I'll just say it's constructive. It's helpful. Yeah,
Mm.
and
Okay.
it's trustable. Yeah.
That's amazing. Cool, cool, cool. So this makes me then curious because you had this massive transition from an environment where it was very like solitary over to essentially this time where essentially now you're in this environment of maximal collaboration. So I'm actually genuinely wondering what you wrote about like in your essays as you were seeking essentially like a future in, well, a place that was like this. Do you remember like what you had thought about during that time and how that eventually shaped what you sent off to Harvard or to, like, for example, other universities along the way? Because
Wait,
like,
sorry. What essays are you talking about?
so like when you eventually wrote to Harvard, right? So then like do you remember what you wrote about?
Oh, okay.
Because I recall that you're one of those people who didn't even take the SAT right there. So I'm like thinking like, oh my gosh, this was essay must have been like, what did you even write about?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. The decision was unexpected. I would say I wouldn't expose too much about my essay,
Sure.
but the general theme does involve collaboration. It's about orchestra,
It was about
but
orchestra. Okay. Yeah,
it
sorry.
was about orchestra. I mean, I was active in the orchestra team, but I wasn't even, something like I didn't even hold a very high position. Like I wasn't even the president.
Mm,
I wasn't even in the. I mean, I was in the committee, but not something remotely near to a president.
I see.
But yeah, so yeah, but I do have a very positive sentiment about my orchestra team. Like I feel like specifically about my instruments, like team, like the small circle that I have in the orchestra team. Um, we feel like a family, and that kind of bond is what I truly cherish for years. Like I actually miss it after I, graduated from my secondary school and went on to KYUEM, and that kind of bond actually led me to, creating the
Oh,
orchestra team. Yeah, because I
wow.
want to experience it again. And
Yeah.
yeah, but I attracted a very niche group of people who shared the same interests in music, and they can, yeah, basically they feel safe. Basically they feel safe in that circle.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, like in a very close relationship with each other
I
is what
see.
I want to try to achieve in
I see.
KYU.
Incredible. So I guess like, you know, like even through I guess like the entire like bloodbath that was admissions, and like everything else of that nature right now. So like, you know, a lot of like KY students have told me before that they feel this like sense of like imposter syndrome for being in like that particular place, or somehow or another, essentially through the path of their reflections, they come to, you know, like think that, you know, I'm in a place that's so incredible, here, there, and everywhere. But almost inevitably, you know, people come to some sort of realization that I do belong in some ways. So then I guess when you think about like right now, the very fact that you are sitting in the mountains, no, I'm kidding, at Harvard right now, so like having this conversation with me. So I guess like, why do you think that Harvard chose you?
Um,
I can see the palpable
that
surprise on
question,
your face.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is one of the many questions, you know, like I've been asked for. And no, I do not know exactly why, but if I were to guess, I mean, I can guess, right? Irresponsibly.
Sure.
I would say maybe it's because of my attitude towards my life.
Attitude
I'm
towards
not
life.
very sure.
I see.
Yeah, I think, I mean, from my perspective, I think they would really love to take in people who are serious about their life, like in general. As in, you know what you're doing, but you spend time in whatever you want, it's okay, but you have a clear vision of what you want to do,
Interesting.
you know, by what you're doing during that time. And yeah, because different people have different issues. Like there's no right answer to, you know, what you have to do in, you know, at this specific range of time. And so it's just that you need to know, you need to have a clear picture of what you're doing. It essentially shows your nature.
I see.
Yeah.
How would you then describe your attitude towards your life and how it affects the way that you view the future?
Well, first of all, I try to be happy. A lot of things that I have done so far is actually steered towards, you know, making myself happy. I mean, that is not something, you know, it's not like I don't care about others, but I care about my mental health. Yeah. And the second thing is that I want to feel, sorry, the sense of contribution, which is what we talk about during, you know, the Adler
like we talk about
psychologist
Adler
thing. Yes.
psychology.
Yes. But yeah,
I see.
sense of contribution, as in you feel like you have a place in where you are right now.
I see.
Like you don't feel meaningless. If the world is the same, if you were not here, there's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if the world did feel the same, then yes, then that would essentially be a problem right there. Because like, what is the whole I guess like purpose then of your life?
You could just vanish. You could just evaporate.
You know, it's actually interesting that you say that, because I shared a video with you a while ago, and I know that you watched a little bit right there about Tharman Shanmugaratnam, you know,
Right.
and his char kway teow preferences right there. So then actually in that video, so President Tharman essentially quoted the late Indian poet Rabindranath Tagore, and he said the following words right here, and I'll just go right ahead and share them on the screen. Essentially, I slept and I dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted and behold, service was joy. And I feel like that kind of like aligns with some of the things that you were saying right there. Maybe you've come to a point of reflection that will yield some great things in the future. And you know, I'm vouching for you, and also for that future where you find that sense of contribution in many ways.
It's a change in mindset. I wasn't even thinking about it, you know, during secondary school. And it's not until KYUEM. You know, like let's just take a moment to appreciate, you know, what JPF done for me. If it were not JPA, I wouldn't have been able to go to KYUEM, because I wouldn't be able to fund it, and I wouldn't be able to, you know, to meet those in those bunch of intelligent kids, that incredible circle, and of course, I wouldn't be able to talk. Like I wouldn't be able to even know how to apply for it, like in the first place.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, so like, although there's a lot of things that I would shit about JPA,
Mm,
um,
mm,
but yeah, it has done a lot for me, and I truly appreciate, the effort of the government in, like sending students to
for sure,
like
yeah.
brightening their future. Yeah,
Oh yeah, of course.
fulfilling the dreams.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
of course. And even speaking as somebody who was formerly funded by JPA as well, and came back only to realize that they don't actually like provide you with like job allocations.
Excuse me.
No, yeah, like yeah, so like I kind of had to like find my own path along the way as well. But anyway, so the thing is, I mean, like we can appreciate the good that essentially came along with it. It doesn't necessarily mean that we don't
Yeah.
want to contribute back towards the country, but maybe somewhere along the line, right? Like you will find something that is greater than what even JPA could have done in the very first place by their own decision. And who knows, maybe the government saved like 1.2 million or something of that nature, but somehow managed to get you back. Amen. All right. Well, who knows what's gonna happen
Yeah.
along the way? Yeah, like think about it that way. So that could be a good thought right there. So all right, as you kind of like explore the journey forward, right? So then I guess like being at Harvard, right? How would you say it has opened your horizons? I guess like thus far. Like it can be academically,
Well,
socially, it could be like from the standpoint of knowledge or anything else of that nature. I know that you're taking a cooking class at this point in time, right here, learning,
yeah.
learning the chemistry of
Yeah.
cooking amongst various other things, meeting lots of different people,
Yeah.
perhaps IMO
Thank you
medalists,
for
etc. Mm.
remembering that. But I would say it's that it opens the door that I so that I can see my potential more.
Mm.
In the sense that I actually feel that I can do more
Mm.
than what I felt. You
Mm.
know, like things and ideas that I wouldn't be able to, even dare to generate.
Mm.
Well, it's a turning point.
I see. So
Yeah.
like a shift in mindset and expectations, that kind of thing right there. Would you also
Yeah,
say
and
that?
also,
Mm.
yeah, actually, second one is that the relationship between expectations from others and the expectations from yourself. Um, so like I used to live under people's expectations in my secondary school,
Sure.
and
Mhm.
I mean it was a competitive school. I cannot stress that enough. But now, right, I'm living for myself, and I'm good for that. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Interesting. So I mean, like, would you say that essentially there were any like special like realizations basically when you were in Harvard, like whether like from standpoint of like a particular form of knowledge, something that you were exposed to that you otherwise would not have been in an alternate state of the universe, or maybe was it just more of like a sea change that was brought about through the progressive compounding of essentially like your actions over the course of the days as a result of that shift in attitude? So was it kind of like, like a specific
Right.
like yeah.
Yeah. Um. Well, I wouldn't characterize it as an explosion of knowledge. No, it was rather progressive. It is well, I guess in terms of knowledge part, acquisition, is that the right word? Yeah. Um, it is a really pretty smooth curve. Like my professors, my lecturers, they managed to. Well, I don't want to use the word feed, but they fed me
Baby butt.
spoon after spoon of knowledge. Yeah, and the support was immense.
Sorry, I did have a
Thank
spoon right
you.
there from the
Yeah,
tea that has
the
now been spilled into my throat. So
yeah,
yeah, okay.
the transition was smooth, and the support was immense. If you don't understand anything, you just go to them, and they will explain everything.
Mm,
So there's really no, like a stage where my acquisition of knowledge is like totally stagnant or something, and then
mm,
suddenly boom, like a steep gradient. No, so like it's rather
mm,
flexible because like I don't think there's support. I mean, and this is what I feel. This is what I feel. The support is unchanged, like the normal
mm,
support. Yeah. So like you
mm,
can as well think about the gradient of the curve is changed, like a linear.
I see.
Graph.
Piecewise function suddenly like so like,
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
got you. All right.
In my journey of studying integrative biology, right? One thing about my perception of biology that changed throughout the course is that I suddenly start to appreciate the STEM pyramid. You must have seen those online, like everywhere. I was enraged, totally, by the pyramid. But yeah, but now I started to, like appreciate the structure of STEM courses, sorry, STEM subjects. In order to understand biology, you need to understand physics,
Chemistry.
you need to understand chemistry,
Then
mathematics. You need to understand all this. Like these are basically prerequisites to understand biology because it's the applied sciences of it is the applied science of all sciences. Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of biology.
I see. Interesting. Would you maybe give us like some, I guess, like sound bites on how your understanding of life at large has kind of like changed so far? I mean, like you did mention like chemistry, for example, but can you give us like, I guess, like a tangible example of how maybe your time at Harvard has influenced the way that you view life in this more, I guess, like expanded sense?
Wait, life as in on
Life,
a
like
biological sense, or on a psychological sense, or on a philosophical sense, or
it is a very rich kind of like question, right? Of like how life actually got to where it is, because it's intertwined with all sorts of different things, like economics, like the development of agriculture. If you read Jared Diamond's Guns, Germs, and Steel, then you see essentially how essentially the agricultural revolution led into, in turn, the way that human beings were able to form like different societies or like live in this world here and there. And I don't know, like it's just interesting to think about.
there are many answers that I cannot answer. I mean, there's still, I mean, we still yet to find the answer. Still a lot of questions about life biologically using scientific methods. Um, so so yeah, like talking about biology in life forms, like as in, well, at Harvard, right? When we discuss about life, um, we talk about molecules, like how the molecule systems work in our body. But essentially the big frame is still the same. Like everything you study in secondary school. So it's not my perspective, it's not your perspective, it is facts.
It is facts. Okay, interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Then in that case, then maybe would you share I guess with us some of your, I guess, like thoughts on the philosophies that you've kind of like developed at least in their current form at essentially Harvard about life at large. Could be like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like related to a question of like, I don't know, what is our purpose? Like what do we do? Or stuff of that nature right there, which probably extends to a whole bunch of different territories, but go wow, you know.
Yeah, are we meaningful? I don't know. Yeah. Um, but I view life as the pursuit of happiness, in general. And as we discussed just now, right? Happiness is linked to, the sense of fulfillment is greatly tied to the sense of contribution. And I think, like this is a loop, and contribution. I mean real contribution, not just the sense of contribution. Real contribution, it facilitates life. Let's just say that.
So
And
contribution is the key to having a
so it's like a
fulfillment.
circle. It's like a cycle. I used to just, live for, I told you, right? I live for expectation. I live for, I don't know, let's just say awards, recognition. Yeah. They brought me joy because I thought these things give me meaning. But now my mindset has changed. And I think that it's important to be self-dependent. You do not have to rely on others to search for recognition and awards, like praises. That is not to say that you shouldn't listen to others. Like that's not the same thing.
I see.
Yeah. Um, it just means that your happiness is not dependent on other people. Like you are self-dependent, which is one of the central dogmas in Adlerian psychology. Yeah.
I see. Okay. But it's not exactly contradictory to like being able to find joy within a society, is it?
Yeah. As in, yeah, no.
Because
What I'm
like
saying
there's a
is
distinction
that
between like, you know, like having other people, shall we say, like become the source of your happiness, in the sense of like, you know, you gain happiness from like their praise or adulation, versus, I don't know, like being happy but then somehow being able to live in a society where that happiness is operationalized amongst a group of people rather than being caused by the expectations or perceptions of those people.
yeah. So my point was that there's no wrong for getting happiness, like from others. As in it's not wrong. It is just that you shouldn't rely on it. You shouldn't solely rely on people to have happiness.
Right.
I mean, well, you sure can say, well, you got praise for your outfit today, and you feel happy, and yeah, sure, why not? Like, take it, but you cannot be you cannot help that you feel sad because people don't praise your dress. Like, it cannot be that way. You cannot live that way. Yeah. That is what I meant by self-dependence.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So then I guess let's move then into that sense of contribution then. What sorts of things do
Right.
you derive a sense of contribution from?
Different people can have, like they contribute in different things and from different perspectives, right?
But what about Herman
Personally,
Leong? Yes, go on.
yeah, I personally would love to contribute to, specifically the youth. Like to see more youths being able to stand on their feet. I guess is part of my happiness, and it brings a lot of joy to to talk to kids and see them grow.
Right.
Yeah. Which is what I realized when I went back to my secondary school as a teacher. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like you actually did that during the course of the summer, didn't you? Like you literally serve as a part-time teacher to
Substitute teacher. Yeah.
part-time teacher. Okay. Wow. Like what was going through your mind when you thought about doing that?
Well, first of all, I was free.
Okay.
Second, I initially wanted to find a way to to promote about JPS scholarships and opportunities. So I was targeting Form 4, Form 5 students, but it turns out that I got Form 1 students, which is the youngest kids of all. Yeah, I mean Form 1 students, playful, mischievous. What else can you say? Like, who else have a serious idea of like wanting to study really hard to get into Harvard at Form 1? Like, who did? Like, who does? No one. So like, yeah. But it was a great experience though. I get to talk to kids, and to truly talk to them, you have to stand on their level, as in your relationship between the relationship between you and the kids cannot be they have to be horizontal. They cannot be vertical. And so yeah, that's one thing I learned about, like,
horizontal as in like speak to them as peer, associate,
yeah,
rather than like
like
say
you're on the
someone
same
who's,
level with them.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't talk to them as if you are a dictator. Yeah, yeah.
I see. Cool. So that's one type of I guess like that's one way in which you currently feel a sense of contribution. And like in the future, I guess like when you kind of like project your life down the line, right? What do you imagine you will derive that sense of contribution from as you kind of like go through life? Do you think it will be broadly similar but manifested in a different way, or do you feel that maybe there are some ways in which like you may change in the future, which, well, yeah.
Right. Um, I don't have a concrete plan.
Mm.
Like I don't even know where I will work. But let's just say that I am willing to, contribute to anything. Like I actually don't mind going back to my secondary school again, like next year. To teach again. Like I actually don't mind.
I
Um
see.
but yeah, I mean I don't even know if that will happen, but let's see. But in the future, probably I would say one field that I would want to contribute in is the scientific area, the research area specifically, though it is not very developed yet, I guess. Like the
Mm.
research area is still like dormant. I guess. I'm not even sure if that's the right word to use, but
In Malaysia?
not very developed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And yeah, it is the very fact that because it is undeveloped, that
There's an
it is a
opportunity.
good ground for contribution.
I see. Okay.
Like there's a huge room for contribution. Yeah.
Cool. So I think that the government does have to work out some things though, for sure. So Malaysian government, work it out. All right. Anyway, so that being
Yeah.
said, yeah, so like
Literally throw us more funds.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So receive my wish that you will be able to get that right there. That being said, okay, so as we come towards the end, I guess like of your interview with us today. So thank you so much for taking the time as well. I guess like
Thank
as
you.
we
Thank you.
yeah, of course. As we move towards the future, right? So like do you have some hints of what you think you would like your legacy to be? Of course, like you don't really know like what you will even work as right now, but like do you have some hints maybe of like what you'd like your legacy to be?
Let's see. I I actually want to do more about do more along the scientific realm. I hope to be successful in terms of scientific research, but there's
Any
some
specific fields maybe?
useful. Yes. Um. Well, I was thinking about pathology.
Pathology. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pathology. In terms of pandemic, God forbid, not again. Um. But yeah, if that happens, I would like to, do something helpful.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yes. Yeah.
Like cure the pandemic before. I mean, like
In
cure.
terms of cure and prevention as well. Yeah.
I see. Like by understanding literally like the protein binding sites or something of that nature right there of like a virus and then just be
Oh
like
yeah.
let's create something to destroy that kind of thing. Maybe that's like Tuesday evening
Yeah.
homework or something of that nature.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, is that actually the kind of homework that you get at Harvard? Like, what kind of homework do you get at Harvard?
Homework. Oh, like
Yeah.
PSATs.
Cure
Uh.
cancer by Tuesday
Well,
evening.
no. It depends on what your classes are. So like in our safety, we did a lot of coding PSATs. We code using Python. So like just they just throw at you random questions. Some actually pretty funny. And I think they once used Marvel, the Marvel characters to come up with a question or something. So coding, like a lot of solving. I mean, problem solving. Yeah, about pandemics as well. Like you need to come up with, I guess, to use differential equations to sorry try to predict the number of cases, like across maybe a week or a month, or several months, like they
Got it.
yeah,
Okay.
something like that.
I
Yeah,
see.
and it was fun. It was fun.
Mm,
Yeah.
I see. Cool. Bonus question. In this age of artificial intelligence and essentially algorithms that are kind of like pervading every single aspect of our lives in the modern age, how do you see, I guess, like the relationship between human beings and technology evolving over the course of time?
Right. I mean, wait. Before I answer your question, I know you're an expert in this field, and I'm not. Um. So
You read Homo
yeah.
Deus, so that counts.
um. But let me just say that. Well, yeah. let me just quote something from Deities. Yuval did say that humans are essentially a species that are successful just because of the fact that we know how to use tools. Our utility of tools makes us, the apex of the food chain. That can be, linked to the relationship between us and the technology, which is essentially tools. And some people are afraid of new tools, like new technologies. Like they feel threatened, but I see it as progress. There's really no stopping point. Like I can't see a stopping point of this progress. It just keeps going and going. And no one sees the end. We will keep coming up with new tools. People have more control about their environments using the new technologies and new tools. Like just imagine, like people centuries ago, they wouldn't imagine being able to call upon the rain. Today we have artificial rain. Centuries ago, like they literally kneel down and pray that God, give us some rain.
This is opening up bonus question. Okay, yeah, go on.
Yeah, it gradually gives us more control over the environment. And yeah, with the advancement of technology, we also we will gain more and more control over the environment. But amid the advancement of these technologies, it provokes a question: Are we inherently meaningful when the time has come when these tools are more powerful than ourselves? Today, right? You use computers, you use software to do something, right? You could have done with bare hands. Time will pass. That more and more softwares will keep getting updated until, like everyone's job is gonna get replaced. Like the AI is gonna do everything for you. Like AI understands you more than you do. So like, is the AI gonna vote for you? Is the AI gonna make choices for you? We're already seeing signs for this, right?
Yeah.
We're already seeing signs for this. Like maybe technologies are starting to like help us make decisions in terms of medicine. We make medical decisions. We make all sorts of decisions using this the help of technologies, and it's happening. So yeah, we have to think about it. Yes, it's a serious topic.
For sure. Amid all this, and this is the bonus question. Okay. Do you believe or feel that there is a higher power that is essentially guiding almost all kinds of like decisions, things that are happening in this world, as things
basically a god? Yeah.
Well, I mean, it could be a god. But I deliberately kept it ambiguous because, like, I mean, like when we think about, even like if you think about, like, say, social media algorithms, you could think of that as essentially a sort of higher power right there. But of course, like, I guess the most natural or intuitive, I guess, like way in which people would think about a higher power would indeed be a god. So then, sure, like if you prefer the question to be like, is there a god right there? Then sure, then let it be so. What do you think?
Okay, I would rather that the question means something more than God. But yeah, if that's a question, yeah, like even if I believe in science, right? So like one of the most common claims is that the universe, look at the universe, right? It's so huge, and yet everything is so organized. Like those physical constants, they are so accurate that they are able to govern the celestial bodies. That the Earth is at a precise place to be a suitable place for life to form, something like that. And I think those kind of questions really, as I said before, they really just reduce to the question I talked about just. Are we inherently meaningful? Like, are we inherently unique? Or are we just a bunch of atoms devoid of meaning. Like, if you think of us as inherently meaningful, like we have inherent meaning, right? Then you would probably say, oh, our placement on Earth is special. Like it could have been on Mars, it could have been there, it could have been here or where. But Earth is it is the perfect place. It is the it's created by it is perfectly curated for humans. Those kinds of clay inherently infer that humans are essentially meaningful. For some athletes, if you just believe like humans are just a bunch of atoms, our existence might just a probability. Like it's just one case in the sample space. Like
I see.
it is huge.
A statistical accident.
Yes, yeah, like something in the sample space. It just happens. Yeah, so like there's nothing special about it. And yeah, we just exist for no reason. So like it really has on board.
So does that then
on your stance on this question?
I see.
Yeah.
So does that bear upon like your view of like God?
Yeah, so like I personally I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure. Because I can see it. I mean I can't prove it. But I mean I also understand that this is not provable. Yeah. So
I agree actually.
Yeah, so it eventually it just means that you either believe it or not. And I personally I don't feel bullied. I don't feel like bullied. Yeah.
Understandable. Okay.
And
cool.
and it's a choice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for spending your Friday evening with me. It was an absolute pleasure. And yeah, incidentally, is there anything that you want to share essentially with the audience, like whether it's advice or essentially anything that maybe that you think that you want to share in terms of like projects, whatever have you right there?
Oh, right. Can I talk about Tanga?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's like go check out Tanga.Asia. It's a youth-led platform, non-profit essentially, that provides students with this low-cost, small-class savings. And it is highly customizable. We just pair you up with tutors, and you guys just talk about the content. That's it. And yeah, the benefits is that how we are different from others. It's just that the founders don't really benefit from it. So like we are able to pass most of what you pay to the tutors, and yeah, it's a win-win for both the tutors and tutors. So yeah, try.
Amazing.
And all of our tutors are highly qualified. So yeah, come try. Cool. Yeah.
Tanga.Asia. All right, cool. So thank you, Herman. Really appreciate it. Last words of advice for the next generation.
Oh right, okay. Last word. That's a weird phrase, but
last phrases, sentences, paragraphs, essays.
Let me just say that do not be too intimidated by the unknown in your future. Because you create your own future, right? It is unknown because you haven't created it. And there's nothing to be intimidated. There's nothing to be intimidated about it. Yeah.
I see. Cool. Thank you so much. And yeah, so been an honor. And yes, thank you. Fist bump through the internet.
Oh my God.
Wow. Love it. Okay.